Hiya, so I wanted to talk quickly about a sort of sentence or phrase I hear a lot, which is where people say, what do I play on or over a given chord progression? And I just wanted to kind of just kick that one out really, because I don't think it's necessarily a good way of phrasing a question. What that question, if we unpack it a bit, what that question means is like, how do I find good sounding notes to play on a given chord progression, right? And I think it's a question that only would pop into your head if, first of all, you'd spent a lot of time practicing on something like a Jamie Aebersold backing track type thing, where the chords are already provided for you, so you're literally playing over a backing track. And the second thing being that you're thinking chords scalically, so you know, you have lists of, quotes, good sounding notes that sound good on those chords. The third thing is I think the guitar encourages this type of thinking because it keeps its secrets close to itself. You know, you don't look at the instrument and understand where the notes are. So, and I don't want to sort of come across, you know, as being arrogant about this. It's like, well, I've got it all sorted out. Because actually this is a sort of dichotomy, playing over a given chord, which I still kind of suffer from. And I think, you know, the more I kind of move away from it, the better my playing gets. But to think that way, you know, playing over the song as opposed to actually playing the song, really, which is what we're talking about, is a big problem. Now, this might seem a bit airy-fairy and a bit kind of like vague, but actually it's very specific. It's like, perhaps the easiest way to look at it is like if I play a given chord, so for instance, if I'm playing Stella by Starlight, so I played that maybe as my first chord, that's my second chord, and this is my third, and my fourth, or maybe even that. You know, I'm playing those voicings, say, all of which are quite complex, but certainly guitaristic. You know, certainly the voicings you might play when comping, you might have different ones. It doesn't matter for the sake of this argument. Then instantly you're thinking, oh, crikey, what's that? You know, in terms of scales. And you've got this sort of arpeggio, which you obviously need to learn in all different positions, you know, which is the minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. And then, you know, on the piano, it's dead obvious because you just have the notes E, G, B flat, D on a piano, and you can see it at one octave, and you see it net sort of all the way up. And the hardest thing you have to do is be able to put that in all 12 keys. But basically, it's all mapped out for you. On the guitar, that's not true. You have to remember this kind of arbitrary shape, you know, and have it, you know, available to you in different keys and different positions of the instrument, you know, and that's kind of hard. That takes a lot of work, let alone, you know, knowing that I want to match it to a certain type of scale. So maybe I want the, you know, low Korean natural 2 or something, maybe, I don't know. Spend a lot of time practicing that kind of thing. That's not easy. That's advanced work, and that's just the first chord. The second chord, I mean, if we're using chord scale theory, we might see that as an altered scale, which is yet another scale that we have to know, and so on and so forth. And if we use a Barry Harris system, we have to learn. I mean, that's kind of easier in a way, because it's just the application of the dominant scale everywhere, mostly, you know. But it's still not. You still got to do a lot of learning, you know. And so, you know, that's something which the piano has over us right away, is just the ease of entry for understanding theory and the way chords and scales indeed relate on the instrument. Now, of course, you can play the chord of E minor 7 flat 5 either as a chord or a melody on a piano very easily. So like donk, basically, or it's you break them up, right? And you can see how the note of the... well, it actually isn't in the chord even, that's an 11th. That's an 11th as well. 9th on that chord. 13th. Now I know this because I know the song and I know the guitar neck, but you know, again on the piano it's easier to see. So where does that leave us? Well, I'm thinking like, you know, we shouldn't be, and this is something which comes really from players like Charlie Christian and Django, but also Peter Bernstein and more contemporary players as well. It's like we have this rich knowledge. Usually if we've been playing jazz for a while, we know quite a few chords. So if we've got worked out a chord melody arrangement at Stella by Starlight, we know we've got or that, or this, different chords that you can play at the beginning of Stella. And we just know them as chords. And of course the thing is you can play them as melodies right away. have is not necessarily something that sounds like language, but it certainly is the changes. You know, it's like somebody else asked me about the playing Someday My Prince Will Come, and it's like, well, why don't you just have play it in bar chords, right? And then break them up. So maybe that. Maybe this. Okay. And then this. Hang on that chord for a sec, and then so I mean it's really that simple. I'm just playing out the chord shapes there, and you can start to develop language a little bit more, perhaps by, you know, winding around things. Passing tones, and so on, right? Sorry, and then this favourite modern chord shape there. Makes a great modern sounding line as well. It's dead simple, right? There's no gap then between knowing a chord and being able to play a melody on it. And it's really very simple, almost naive to the guitar, but I think the results are actually rather cool. And it's not necessarily a replacement. Of course, people are going to want to learn how to play scales and arpeggios, you know, because those are useful constructs. But it's like you can map them around the chords. Maybe that one. And if that sound gets a bit boring for you, you can substitute it. So this is on major 7th here. We could add the 9th in. You know, maybe we go so that we might want a more complex sound for the dominant. That's it really. Very simple and straightforward. Anyway, I better go because my little one's coming back in. Thanks for watching. Post anything below.